Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? We are, I think this is what, 7, 8 videos in, something like that. So only a few more days and I'll be being received. So that's amazing. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to coming back and getting back to the normal. But this is the, I'm still 2 weeks behind. I'm recording this all in one night from all the notes that I had taken on this. So tonight we're going to be going over, or this afternoon for you guys, we're going to be going over the polemical works of St. Thomas Aquinas, which in a sense, I guess you could say almost everything St. Thomas Aquinas writes is polemical. That is a strand throughout his entire method of writing each one of his treatises, because that's just the way in which learning was done in the medieval world, and that's the way in which learning is still done now. Well, at least ought to be done now, because the very way in which man is made, we learn through disputation. So it's sad that we've lost a lot of that, but nevertheless, before we begin, don't forget, become a patron at patreon.com/Militant Thomist if you really love what I'm doing. No minimum, so if you want to become $1 patron, I am very gracious. I think I even have a 75-cent patron, and I'm very gracious for him and or her, not and or, him or her. I'm very gracious for him. Probably him. There's no females watching this. Women don't watch about the polemical works of St. Thomas Aquinas. Trust me. That's not a feminine virtue. So, also, Greek. Need to learn Greek. FluentGreekNT.com. Use code Militant, 20% off. And then also ChristianBWagner.com/shop if you want to get all of those based MT mugs. Militant Thomist mugs. Buy like 10 of them. Just go all out. Buy 10 of them. Buy 100 of them. Get one for your wife for your anniversary. Trust me. She'll love it. Just trust the source. Trust me, bro. It was revealed to me in a dream. And also books. There's books on there too. So get your wife Scotus's Ordinatio Volume 1 too. She will enjoy that. You know what? When my wife's birthday comes around, or our anniversary comes around, our anniversary is closer. When our anniversary comes around, I'll get her Scotus's Ordinatio. I'll hand it to her, and I'll post a beautiful picture of my beautiful wife with a beautiful book. And I'll say, look how happy she is to have received the Scotus Ordinatio for our anniversary. She's very grateful for this. She's gonna love it. I should be quiet so she doesn't hear me and ruin the surprise, because she will love to get the Ordinatio, just like your wife will love to get every single book from Militant Thomist Press. She will get all the books and say, wow, look at these beautiful cover designs and the wonderful typesetting that has been done on this book. I'm so glad that you got me these books for our anniversary and or my birthday. That was just a very wonderful, wise, and prudent decision. And oh wow, 10 mugs, 10 Militant Thomist mugs. You must really love me. So that's what you ought to do. So let's get right into it. That was a bit of a lengthy one. I usually don't do that long of an ad break. So I'm going to share my screen. This is, again, going to be another kind of quick one. So, okay. Oops. So the first, there's going to be 5 of these. This is going to be 5 polemical works that St. Thomas has. And some of them they're more or less useful, but most of them are actually on the same topic, which is the religious life. So the first one's an apology for the religious orders. So during the medieval era, this is actually surprisingly modern. There was a growing tide of, well, it was a strong minority of people who just didn't like the religious orders. They just didn't like that there was all these monks going around and teaching, and all these monks going around and begging for money and praying and all this stuff. They didn't like the monks. They despised them. So what St. Thomas does is St. Thomas takes all of the objections against the monastic life and answers all of them. For example, whether it is lawful for a religious to teach, what is meant by religion, and what perfection consists. Is it lawful for the religious to live on alms? Attacks men on religious because of the way they study. Religious are condemned for going to law. Religious are accused for seeking to find favor with men. So this is a good. This is good, really, on 2 points. This is my favorite actually. That's why I have it pulled up. Attacks brought against religious on account of their systematic method of preaching. Love to see it. We need more systematic methods of preaching, not less systematic methods of preaching. Trust me, that would help out a lot. So, yes, this is very important. First, on a historical note, just in understanding the context in which St. Thomas and many of the medieval theologians and philosophers lived. Very important to understanding that. And then second, this is actually surprisingly modern because the modern world doesn't see much of a use for the religious, no matter how important Catholic theology has placed that emphasis. So it's sort of a counterweight. Reading this work in defense of the religious orders is very helpful in us having a proper appreciation for why having the religious matters. Why do we have monastics? Why do we have nuns? Why are those things so important to retain? And especially since we have had such a sad plummeting of vocations when it comes to the religious. Very sad. Because it just isn't really spoken of much. It seems weird. So now, on the perfection of the spiritual life. So this is another really beautiful one. This is a lot when it comes to both the sorry, I was just scrolling through. The first half has to do a lot with mystical theology. This is when Father Reginald Garrigou-Lagrange, when he writes his work on mystical theology, he takes a lot, I've noticed, from the first half of this work on the perfection of the spiritual life. And then the second half, I guess you could say the last 10, last 11, that has more to do with the religious life proper. So the episcopal office is more sacred than the religious life. Dangers in desiring the episcopal office. This has to do more with the nature of the clergy when it comes to this. So it's not as important for our understanding, but the first 20 questions on here definitely are pretty glorious when it comes to understanding mystical theology. And then again, another work, a refutation of teaching that deters from religious life. So, yeah, that is about, again, it's about the same as the last two works. And then on the unity of the intellect against the avarists. So this is interesting. I mean, this is more of an obscure debate, but the avarists were a certain group of philosophers who were around in the medieval philosophical plurality that there was before you had the Thomistic synthesis was accepted and promulgated. You had these guys called the avarists who, when it came to their doctrine of anthropology, were not too good when it came to the unity of the intellect. So this is, I mean, I've read parts of this. I haven't sat down and read the whole thing. It's not too incredibly long, so I bet I could do it in an afternoon or two. Wouldn't be too difficult, but this really provides a foil. I think a lot of these works with things that aren't relevant to our current theological atmosphere, they're very important to providing foils for understanding the inner logic of our position. And then lastly, on the eternity of the world. And this is really, this has to do, and this, I've read this work quite a few times actually. This has to do with certain debates around, because as many know, when it came to ancient Greek philosophers, quite a few posited that the world was eternal rather than something which was temporal. And St. Thomas is dealing with this question, how it relates to faith and reason. And the reason this is so important, I think, is when it comes to the evolution, young earth, old earth debate, because it really provides us some principles of how reason and faith relate, how articles of faith relate to the science of his day. and the science of the ancient world when it comes to the eternity of the world is very important. So, and I think honestly that the proper conclusion from this work is against the evolutionists, but you will just have to read this to find out. This is one of those hidden gems in St. Thomas that not many people darken the door of. So that is all I have for you. Thank you for joining me. Looking forward to coming back, and do penance, for the kingdom of God is at hand.
Lord.